to the creator, now bowing to the created. Now I can stand bolder, my heart and mind are sober. Looking to see a sign, my staff turned to a cobra. With magic they did the same, refused to fear his name. Hearts remain hard till their firstborns were slain. The knowledge you have is vain. Chakras and kundalinis, Kabbalah, tree of life, witchcraft and genies, mystery school teaching. Of course it gotta be right, you know it all. Somebody gain eternal life. Were you there when he made the earth? When he formed man's bones, only used the dirt? Were you there when he made the planets? Please tell me how he did it if you understand it. Were you there when he made the heavens? And all their array rested on the seventh. All you have is speculation and theories. Gave us basic commands, we comprehend them clearly. What's the purpose of living? What's the purpose of dying? Who do you believe when everybody is lying? How do you wait fire? Count the sands of the seas. Tell me how many stars throughout the galaxy. Some things only God knows. If questions linger in your mind till your eyes close. But here's something you can understand. Fear Yah and his commands, the duty of man. While you still have a chance, fear Yah and his commands, the duty of man. While you still have a chance, fear Yah and his commands, the duty of man.
All right, shalom again, family. I pray everybody is having a blessed Shabbat. We are blessed to be with y'all again today and looking forward to getting into this 9th installment of Seeking a Priesthood. Fam, I'm looking as we're doing this every week, and I'm like, man, this is part 9 already. I promise y'all, it's not gonna just drag out. But once we get to Levi, things are really gonna pick up more. It's just so much good stuff in here. So much good stuff, and it's building the foundation of why Abraham and why Isaac and why Jacob. You know what I mean? And once you get that foundation, then when we see the deviations, even within the nation of Israel, you can recognize why there were splits and why Yah caused certain people not to inherit among the nation of Israel. I mean, like, it's prophesied, right? And so we're going to get into all of that. But yeah, leading up to Levi, it's a lot of backstories there that are very interesting and not necessarily in Torah, but it's good to know. It's good to have as that foundation. And because we read through all of that stuff, Rib and I, when we were looking into the calendar, when we were seeing the different splits, everything was very clear, because it was like, oh yeah, no, they was foul. They were not doing Yah's will. They were not doing Yah's word, but these people were. And it was very clear why Yah would say, you know, I'm tearing these people apart, or I'm doing something different with them than I'm doing with those people. So continue to bear with us. I pray that it's, you know, educational, but also somewhat entertaining, and that we don't lose y'all during the process. But here we are, part 9. And so today we're going to be reading from Standard 66. I'm going to be reading from the scriptures, Jubilees and Jasher, which we've been reading from the last few weeks. But today we're also going to read a little bit from a book called The Testament of Abraham. And if you're not familiar with the Testament of Abraham, you can find it also on that link that I've been sharing with you guys. So if you don't already have that pulled up and open, you might want to get that prepared so that you can add that to your notes. Testament of Abraham. Yep. Oh, guess I'll turn my camera on. All right. Okay, that's a good one. It's a really good one. I'm not going to read it straight through. I'm kind of going to skip some parts in there just for time's sake, so it don't drag out. But we'll try to kind of cap what I'm skipping over. But yeah, if you have time, make time even, read through it. It's a really good one. All right. Told I advanced to my reader, my Isha, Koti Rib. Told I advanced to my writer, Indigo. Told I advanced to my poster. You posting today, Koti? Koti Latasha usually posts for us. And Rib, can you give us a mic check? Make sure they can hear you okay?
My mic sound nice.
You guys hear Rib? All right, hallelujah. I'm gonna have to have Rib tell y'all about her dream when we get to Sukkot. We've been chuckling about that all morning. No, she all quiet over there all of a sudden. But you trying to be on your best behavior today?
You're wrong, man. You ain't gonna keep threatening me.
All right, fam. So we're picking up in Genesis 18 and 1. Genesis 18, we're going to read 1 through 21. And we're picking up after Abram and his household have celebrated the birth of Isaac, who Yah made very clear to him was the seed that he was speaking of when he said he was promising those specific areas, right? And Abraham celebrated by keeping booths. And we read in Jubilees that Abraham was the first to keep booths in the earth. And it was a testament in the heavens, and so on and so forth. So we were able to add Abram and Isaac to the list of our rulers, those that were ruling in righteousness according to that order before Levi, right? Being a priest. But we're going to see Isaac as we go, but Abraham for sure. So picking up Genesis 18, 1 through 21. Whenever you're ready.
And Yahuah appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre, while he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and saw 3 men standing opposite him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the ground, and said, Yahuah, if I have now found favor in your eyes, please do not pass your servant by. Please let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourself under the tree. And let me bring a piece of bread and refresh your hearts, and then go on. For this is why you have come to your servant. And they said, do as you have said. So Abraham ran into the tent to Sarah and said, hurry, make ready 3 measures of fine flour, knead it and make cakes. And Abraham ran out to the herd, took a tender and good calf, gave it to a young man, and he hurried to prepare it.
Actually, when you read this in one of those other versions, it says that young man was Eleazar, that same servant. That's one of Abraham's most trusted servants, the one that he got from Nimrod. Go ahead.
And he took curds and milk and the calf which he had prepared, and set it before them. He stood by them under the tree as they ate. And they said to him, where is Sarah, your wife? And he said, see, in the tent. And he said, I shall certainly return to you according to the time of life. And see, Sarah, your wife, is to have a son. And Sarah was listening in the tent which was behind them. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well advanced in age. And Sarah was passed away of women. And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my master being old too? And Yahuah said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I truly have a child since I am old? Is any matter too much for Yahuah? At the appointed time, I am going to return to you according to the time of life. And Sarah is to have a son. But Sarah denied it, saying, I didn't laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, no, but you did laugh. And the men rose up from there and looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to send them away.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahuah said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? Since Abraham is certainly going to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him, so that he commands his children and his household after me, to guard the way of Yahuah, to do righteousness and right ruling, so that Yahuah brings to Abraham what he has spoken to him. And Yahuah said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very heavy, I am going down now to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it that has come to me. And if not, I know.
Okay, beautiful. Torah. So this says that these three messengers, or these three men, as it calls them, come to speak to Abraham, and as they're telling him about him and Sarah getting ready to birth or bring forth Isaac in due time, they're also coming to see if something they heard about Sodom is actually true. Like, they're going to make sure, they want to see it with their own eyes. And because of Abraham's friendship with Yah, the conversation is had, should I let Abraham know what I'm doing? Because he's going to check on Lot. And he's going to destroy that city and everything and everybody in it. Now, y'all remember we talked about Lot making his decision to either be obedient within Abraham's household or to not be obedient within Abraham's household, and Abraham having that contention with Lot. And even though Abraham looked at Lot as a son, and if it was up to Abraham, we read a scripture the other day in Proverbs that says, Yah orders a man's steps. No, it's okay. They can drop it. You can drop it. It says, Yah orders a man's step. What does he know about his own way? Or something to that. You remember that, Rick?
Yeah.
No, I'm not asking you to find it. I'm just saying you remember the sentiment of it. And basically it reminded me of, when people say, if you want to make Yah laugh, tell him your plans. And so it's like, excuse us, man. Mayor lady drops something at the door and knocking on the window. That's all right. So anyway, so if it was up to Abraham, Abraham probably would have been looking for Lot to inherit, right? So y'all had to make a clear separation and let him know, we talked about that it was not Lot. But Abraham still had an affinity for Lot. And so remember we read that Abraham was still broken up when he had to basically put Lot out of his house to a certain degree and tell Lot, hey man, we got a lot of land here. You need to go one way and I'll go another. But at this point, if you can't see your way to operating in the way that I'm telling you how to operate, you're going to have to leave. It's causing strife. It's causing contention. So Lot packs up and goes to Sodom. Lot is in Sodom, right? And now there's something going on in Sodom where Lot then chose to leave Abraham's covering and Abraham's protection and thereby leave Yah's covering and Yah's protection, where Lot is now got himself caught up in the war that Abraham had to go save him from, but he still went back to Sodom, right? Torah for that. Torah. That Koti Natasha posted that scripture is Proverbs 20 and 24. Yah orders a man's steps down. So if that wasn't warning enough for Lot that Abraham had to go save him and his family when they wound up in that war, the war that took place that caused Abraham to meet with Melchizedek in the Valley of the Kings, Lot went back to Sodom again, right? he went back to Sodom again. He still didn't say, man, maybe I need to come back and hang out with Abraham, where it's safe at. He didn't say that. He didn't operate in a way that would have paralleled or been a similitude of the story of the prodigal son, right? The prodigal son left out, lived righteously, and then came back, was like, oh man, I was wrong, I need to come back. That was not Lot's lot, no pun intended, in life, right? So Lot left. And because of Abraham's affinity with Lot still, there's this thought of, should I tell Abraham where I'm going? Because Abraham may try to talk me out of what I'm doing. And so the question is, what is this outcry that's going on in Sodom, right? Why is the outcry so great in Sodom? And why is it that it reached up to Yah? So if y'all read Jasher 18, we're not going to read through all of this. I'm going to give you the overview, and we're going to pick up at 19. But if you read Jasher 18, it gives you a little bit of the background of what Sodom was like. We already read about the fact that they had giants there. They was dealing with Nephilim there, and all of that. But there's two stories that it gives us in Jasher chapter 18. So you can put Jasher chapter 18 in your notes to read it for yourself. But I'm gonna give you the overview. One of those stories is about a stranger that comes into town. And the stranger is poor, but he's gathered enough stuff to come to town to try to sell it and try to make him a little money. And what Sodom does to this man, what the Sodomites do, that's what the term sodomite means, literally, is somebody who is from Sodom, right? What they say the term sodomite means now is a new definition. We'll get into that another time. So anyway, he goes in there with his wares or his goods to sell, and little by little, these sodomites come up to him and they take a little, each person takes a little bit from him. By the time they finish swarming him and taking a little bit of what he has, he doesn't have anything left. And he's looking like, what have y'all done to me? And what they do is they taunt him, and they each go up to him and they're like, all I took was this little bit that you gave me, just enough for me. Like, it's crazy. But he had nothing left. He's poor. And then it tells the story of another stranger from this place called Elam, and his name was Hadad. And Hadad comes into town, and he's passing through. And he comes through on a horse, and he's got a cord, and it says he has a mantle of many colors. What that mantle is, what that mantle consisted of, I don't know, but it was obviously precious to him and worth money. And so he's traveling through the town, and he meets with one of the people of Sodom, and they say, hey, you're a stranger here, you new. I don't want nothing to happen to you. Come stay with me for the night. I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna provide you with hay for your animal, bed, sleep, meal for the night, and in the morning you be on your way. So Hadad is like, okay, cool. That'd be a blessing. So he sleeps there. They give him bedding for the night. They feed his animal. They feed him. When he wakes up in the morning, he says, whoa, no, don't go yet. Stay and have a meal before you go. So he stays and has a meal. They feed him. They get him drinking again. And by the time his dad is ready to go, he's like, well, man, you done stayed and drunk all day. You may not want to get out there and drive now that you've been drinking. Whatever. It's late. You might as well stay. We already got your bed made up for you. So her dad is like, okay, yeah, it's late. I'll stay a night. And so they do that to him 3 nights in a row. And on the 3rd morning or 4th morning, whatever that is, when they asked him to stay and eat again, his dad was like, no, I really have to get on the road. I got somewhere to be. People expecting me, whatever, what may have you. Just go and get for me my cord that I had my mantle strapped to my horse for me, and that multicolored mantle, and I'll be on my way. And as he's saying that, the wife says to the owner of the house, man, he gonna come in here and eat 3 days and 3 nights with us and get ready to leave out. He don't even offer us no money or nothing. And the husband looked at the wife and told her to shut up. Basically, like, I got this. Get back in there and be quiet. And he gives Hadad all of his stuff except for the cord and the mantle. And Hadad is like, I'm still waiting on my cord and my mantle. And he was like, cord and your mantle? He said, yeah, when I came in town, I gave you a cord and a mantle. And the owner of the house looks at him and was like, okay, yeah. Let me tell you the interpretation of this dream you had. The cord that you gave me in your dream, well, that represents a vast valley of land that you're going to get. And this multicolored mantle means you're going to plant many trees of different fruits. Now, what I charge for my interpretation of dreams is 11 pieces of silver. Just kindly pay me my silver and be on your way. And that is like, no. Wait, hold on. It was daytime when I came here. I wasn't asleep. I literally gave you a cord. I literally gave you my mantle. Get me my cord and my mantle. And they go back and forth about this to the point where they go to court. They wind up in court telling the judge that he didn't give him his cord and his mantle. And the man is like, no, everybody in Sodom know that I interpret dreams and I charge 11 pieces of silver for my dreams. And the judge look at her dad is like, no, this is true. This man is right. He interprets dreams and he charges $11 for his dream, 11 shekels, 11 pieces of silver for his dreams. Pay him his 11 shekels of silver. Oh, and I fed him 3 days and 3 nights too. Pay him for his food that he fed you and be on your way. And you know, they never gave that man his stuff. They drove that man crazy, never giving him his stuff. That's the type of stuff that Sodom was known for. Sound like America. Matter of fact, yes, you're right. I posted a video in Facebook when I popped in to say Shabbat Shalom, Jay. Something I caught on YouTube, and I don't know if y'all saw it. There was this brother going through this neighborhood and he mows lawns. And this made me think of Sodom. He's going through and mowing lawns, and that's his business. And he knocks on this door where this lawn is overgrown, like thoroughly. And there's a lady who lives there. She's a single mother. And she says she can't pay him to mow the grass, but that the neighbors have called on her because her grass is over 15 inches. And it was bad. It was over 15 inches. And they've called the authorities on her because she hasn't cut her grass. And the city is fining her $300 and something because she ain't cut the grass. Now, she's a single mother, ain't got the money nor the equipment to cut the grass herself, just on hard times. And this brother got out there and he recorded himself do it, is what he does. He does the time lapse of him transforming people's lawns and stuff like that. And he did the time lapse of him transforming her lawn and making it presentable again. And I thought to myself, damn, that sounds like Sodom. Like, what kind of place and what kind of neighbors even would see that this young lady is obviously in need of help, and you, the neighbor, have the equipment to cut the grass? Huh? But instead call the authorities. Like, if you didn't want to cut it, maybe offer her some money to get it cut if it's an eyesore to you. So they call the authorities. I said, man, that was wicked. That was wicked as hell. Okay. So that's the type of stuff that Sodom was known for. And that's the reason why when you heard like Malcolm X making them speeches talking about, Babylon and Sodom, he was saying, this is spiritual Babylon. This is spiritual Sodom. That's what he was talking about. This place has the same spirit and operates in the same capacity. And that's why when we looked at the season of fall harvest, the things that say are going to happen, the prophesied to happen. So we're going to pick up in Jasher 19 and continue with more of what Sodom was like and why specifically Yah had these cries going out to him that he had to send his Melachim down there to see about. Okay, so picking up in Jasher 19, we're going to read 1 through 46. Book of Jasher, chapter 19, 1 through 46, whatever you're ready.
And the cities of Sodom had 4 judges to 4 cities. And these were the names: Sirach in the city of Sodom, Sharkad in the city of Gomorrah, Zabnak in the city of Adnah, and Menon in the city of Zebulun. And Eliezer, Abraham's servant, applied to them different names. And he converted Sirach into Shakra,
Sound like chakra to me.
Sharkad into Shakura, Zebnak into Zezibun, and Menon into Matzladin. And by desire of their 4 judges, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah had beds erected in the streets of the city. And if a man came to these places, they laid hold of him and brought him to one of the beds, and by force made him to lie in them. And as he lay down, 3 men would stand at his head and 3 at his feet, and measure him by length of the bed. And if a man was less than the bed, these 6 men would stretch him out at each end, and when he cried out, they would not answer him.
Now, pause that for a second. No, go ahead.
And if he was no longer than the bed, they would draw together the 2 sides of the bed at each end, under the man, until the man had reached the gates of death. And if he continued to cry out to them, they would answer him, saying, "Thus shall it be done to a man that cometh into our land."
I ask myself, why a bed? Why a bed? And why are they trying to stretch a man to equal the length of the bed? And why are they trying to kill a man if he's longer than the bed? I'm asking myself those questions, and I got some ideas of why. Because again, they dealt with those giants, right?
Right. They had a grudge against him.
They dealt with the giants. They dealt with the Nephilim, all that. So I don't know. Just something to think about. Go ahead.
And when men heard all these things that the people of the cities of Sodom did, they refrained from coming there. And when a poor man came to their land, they would give him silver and gold, and cause a proclamation in the whole city not to give him a morsel of bread to eat. And if the stranger should remain there some days and die from hunger, not having been able to obtain a morsel of bread, then at his death all the people of the city would come and take their silver and gold which they had given to him. And those that could recognize the silver or gold which they had given him took it back. And at the end, and at his death, they also stripped him of his garments, and they will fight about them. And he that prevailed over his neighbor took them. They would, after that, carry him and bury him under some of the shrubs in the deserts. So they did all the days to anyone that came to them and died in their land. And in the course of time, Sarah sent Eliezer to Sodom to see Lot and inquire after his welfare. And Eliezer went to Sodom, and he met a man of Sodom fighting with a stranger. And the man of Sodom stripped the poor man of all his clothes and went away. And this poor man cried to Eliezer and supplicated his favor on account of what the man of Sodom had done to him. And he said to him, "Why dost thou act thus to the poor man who came to thy land?" And the man of Sodom answered Eliezer, saying, "Is this man thy brother? Or have the people of Sodom made thee a judge this day, that thou speakest about this man?"
Don't judge us, huh?
Yeah.
You can't judge me.
And Eliezer strove with the man of Sodom on account of the poor man. And when Eliezer approached to recover the poor man's clothes from the man of Sodom, he hastened and with a stone smote Eliezer in the forehead. And the blood flowed copiously from Eliezer's forehead.
Now, the fact that Eliezer wasn't afraid to strive with this man tell you a little bit about Eliezer, because that place was obviously dangerous. Remember, Abraham went in there to fight a war, right? There was I don't want to say it was the hood. It was worse than the hood. He was going there to check on Lot, which means Sarah knew and Abraham knew that this was a dangerous situation they were sending Eliezer to, but they obviously felt like Eliezer was the type of man that could handle himself, right? So he wasn't no punk. But this man struck him in the forehead. Okay, go ahead.
And when the man saw the blood, he caught hold of Eliezer, saying, Give me my hire for having rid thee of thus bad blood that was in thy forehead.
There's a name for that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. There's a name for that. If y'all remember, like especially in the dark ages, they called it bloodletting. And back in the day, they thought that the way to get rid of all sicknesses, we talking about them, not us. Them. Y'all know what I mean. They put leeches on you and suck, them. They sucked the blood out of you with leeches. And they felt like they was getting the bad blood out. And so this may be where that originated. I don't know. But that's what they call themselves. Oh, you bleeding. Nah, I don't let that bad blood out. That must be why you came against me, because you had that bad blood up in you. So that's what he called himself saying.
For this was the custom in their land. And Eliezer said to him, thou hast wounded me, and you requires me to pay thee thy hire? Eliezer would not hearken to the words of the man of Sodom. And the man laid hold of Eliezer and brought him to Shapra, the judge of Sodom, for judgment. And the man spoke to the judge, saying, I beseech thee, my lord, thus has this man done. For I hit him in the head with the stone, that the blood flowed from his forehead. I bust his head to the white meat.
Right.
And he unwillingly
onto the white meat.
And he unwillingly did not give me my hire. And the judge said to Eliezer, does this man speak the truth? Did he bust your head to the white meat show?
Right.
Give the man his hire. This is the custom in our land. And Eliezer heard the words of the judge, and he lifted up a stone, and he busted the judge's head to the white meat show. And the blood flowed copiously from the forehead of the judge. And Eliezer had said, if this is your custom, then give this man what you owe me for busting your head to the white meat show. There you go.
Yeah.
And Eliezer left the man of Sodom and the judge, and he went his way.
I could just see him looking at both of them like, okay,
I'm dealing with
both of you crazy. How about this? How about I bust you upside your head and you pay him what I owe him out of what you owe me? How about that? Yeah, Eliezer was about it, man.
Yeah.
That brother was something else. Okay, then what happened?
Okay, so then when the kings of Elam made war with the king of Sodom, the kings of Elam captured all the property of Sodom, and they took Lot captive with his property. And when it was sold to Abraham,
hold on. That you went somewhere else.
Eliezer left the man of Sodom with the judge and went his way. And then 23, when the kings of Elam made war.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, you're right. Go ahead.
Okay. Lot, captive, and Abraham went and made war with the kings of Elam. Okay. And he recovered from his hands all property of Lot as well as the property of Sodom.
Okay, so that was before that. I apologize. Go ahead.
At that time, the wife of Lot bare him a daughter. And he called her name Paltith, saying, because Yah have delivered him and his whole household from the kings of Elam. And Paltith, daughter of Lot, grew up, and one of the men of Sodom took her for a wife. And the poor man came into the city to seek a maintenance, and he remained in the city some days. And all the people of Sodom caused a proclamation of their custom not to give this man a morsel of bread to eat until he dropped dead upon the earth, and they did so. And Paltith, the daughter of Lot, saw this man lying in the street, starved with hunger, and no one would give him anything to keep him alive, and he was just about to the point of death, and her soul was filled with pity on account of the man. And she fed him secretly with bread for many days, and the soul of this man was revived. But when she went forth to fetch water, she would put the bread in the water pitcher. And when she came to the place where the poor man was, she took the bread from the pitcher and gave it to him to eat. So she did many days. And all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah wondered how this man could bear starvation for so many days. Right. And they said to each other, this can only be that he eats and drinks, for no one can bear starvation for so many days or live as this man has, without even his countenance changing. And 3 men concealed themselves in the place where the poor man was stationed, to know who it was that brought him bread to eat. And Paltiel, daughter of Lot, went forth that day to fetch water. And she put bread into her pitcher of water. And she went to draw water by the poor man's place. And she took out the bread from the pitcher and gave it to the man, and he ate of it. And the 3 men saw what Paltiel did to the poor man, and they said to her, "It is thou, then, who hast supported him, and therefore has he not starved, nor changed in appearance, nor died like the rest."
Mm-hmm.
And the 3 men went out of the place in which they were concealed, and they seized Paltiel and the bread which was in the poor man's hand. And they took Paltiel and brought her before their judges.
Mm-hmm.
And they said to them, "Thus did she do, and it is she who supplied the poor man with bread. Therefore did he not die all this time. Now, therefore, declare to us the punishment due to this woman for having transgressed our law."
So now they messing with Abraham's people. Lots of people was Abraham's people. Now that's his, what, niece? That would be his grandniece, great niece, or something along them lines. But yeah, now you mess with Abraham's people. Go ahead.
And the people of Sodom and Gomorrah assembled and kindled a fire in the street of the city. And they took the woman and cast her into the fire, and she was burned to ashes. And in the city of Admah there was a woman to whom they did the like. For a traveler came into the city of Admah to abide there all night, with the intentions of going home in the morning. He sat opposite the door of the house of the young woman's father to remain there, as the sun had set when he had reached that place. And the young woman saw him sitting by the door of the house. He asked her for a drink of water, and she said to him, "Who art thou?" He said to her, "I was this day going on the road, and reached here when the sun set. So I will abide here all night, and in the morning I will arise early and continue my journey." And the young woman went into the house and fetched the man bread and water to eat and drink. And this affair became known to the people of Admah, and they assembled, and they brought the young woman before the judges, that they should judge her for her acts. And the judges said, "The judgment of death must pass upon this woman, because she transgressed our law. And this, therefore, is the decision concerning her." And the people of these cities assembled, and they brought out the young woman, and they anointed her with honey from
I don't know if I would call that an anointing, but okay.
from head to foot, as the judge had decreed. And they placed her before a swarm of bees, which were then in their hive. And the bees flew upon her and stung her, and her whole body was swelled. And the young woman cried out on account of the bees, but no one took notice of her or pitied her. And her cries ascended into the heaven. And the master was provoked at this, and all the works of the cities of Sodom. For they had abundance of food, and had tranquility among them, and still would not sustain the poor and the needy. And in those days, their evil doings and sins became great before the master. And the master sent for 2 of the Malachim that had come to Abraham's house to destroy Sodom and its cities. And the Malachim rose up from the door of Abraham's tent after they had eaten and drank. And they reached Sodom in the evening. And Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. And when he saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed down to the ground.
All right, hold on. So, I was highlighting something there. So when y'all see where you read that somebody innocent cries out and it says their cries ascended to heaven, usually y'all getting ready to take some action, especially once those cries pile up, right? And so it says those cries ascended up to the heaven, and the master was provoked at this. Why was he provoked? It says because they had an abundance and they had tranquility among them if they wanted it, and they still would not sustain the poor and the needy. He get mad about Israel about doing the same thing. Let's not do that. That sounds like America too. Okay. Abundance of everything, but still don't want to feed the needy. Feed the greedy, not the needy. Take care of the dogs, not the people.
Should be no homeless people in this thing.
No, no. And you know, they tell you it's not enough housing, it's not enough land. Really?
All these rich people got so much property.
Look at the lands around you. Look at the lands that's nothing on it. And look how much housing could be built if they so wanted to. Kang, people sleeping on the bridges is bad. It used to be, you know, just in certain areas. Now it's every city that you go into. Yeah, 10 cities.
What's it called? Strip road?
So going back to Genesis 18, picking up at 22. So now we see what it was that Yahuah was coming down to see about. He said, let's go down there and see if these cries I'm hearing, it's as bad as what I'm hearing it is. And at the same time, when he said he's sending his Malakim there, they there with the authority that if it is that bad, they go ahead and destroy it, smash. If it's what it look like it is, go ahead and make judgment on that place, right? So picking up in 18, we're going to read verses 22 through 33. 18, 22 through 30. Whenever you're ready.
So the men turned away from there and went toward Sodom. And Yahuah still stood before Abraham. And Abraham drew near and said, would you also destroy the righteous with the wrong? Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were there? Mm-hmm. Far be it from you to act in this way, to slay the righteous with the wrong, so that the righteous should be as the wrong. Mm. Far be it from you. Does the judge of all the earth not do right? And Yahuah said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I shall spare all the place for their sake. Mm-hmm. And Abraham answered and said, look, please, I who am but dust and ashes have taken it upon myself to speak to Yahuah. Suppose there are 5 less than the 50 righteous. Mm-hmm. Would you destroy all of the city for lack of 5? And he said, if I find there 45, I do not destroy it.
I always find this funny because this seemed like Abraham took it upon himself to try to negotiate with Abiyah, but it's like, I don't know if I would ever try that, but I do see and read here that he's treading very delicately.
He's scared. You can hear it in his voice.
Kang.
And he spoke to him yet again and said, suppose there are found 40. Mm-hmm. And he said, I will not do it for the sake of 40. Mm-hmm. And he said, let not Yahuah be displeased, please, and let me speak. Suppose there are found 30. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. Mm-hmm. And he said, look, please, I know I have taken upon myself to say too much to Yahuah.
Right.
But suppose there are found 20. And he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of 20. And he said, let not Yahuah be displeased, and let me speak just one more time. Mm-hmm. Suppose there are found 10. And he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of 10. Then Yahuah went away as soon as he had ended speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place.
That's interesting to me because it seemed like Abraham already had a number in mind to me. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like the Most High also knew that Abraham had a number in mind, and he let him get to that number. That's what it sounded like to me. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Cain.
Abraham counted all his people.
About
10 of them there.
That's what it seemed like. Cain. Yes, sis, you're right. Abraham tried to stand in the gap. What's that called? It's called intercession. Yeah. He interceded on behalf of his people. Mm-hmm. But it don't seem to me like Abraham gave a care about the rest of them. Mm-mm. Which leads me to the next thing I want to show y'all. Because Abraham had to learn to have compassion on people that wasn't operating like Abraham operated. Now, Lot had some indiscretions that Abraham had to deal with, but that was still Abraham's boy. You know what I'm saying? But as for other people, Abraham didn't have a whole lot of pity for people if they wasn't operating like y'all want them to. Let's read about that. Let's go to the Testament of Abraham. We're going to pick up in chapter 8. And so I'll give you a little bit of what's going on before this. So Yah, what happens is Yah sends one of his chief Malachim, one of his chief angels, to tell Abraham that it's time to get his house in order. But Abraham tells not Yah, but that angel, I ain't ready. So because Yah has already told this Malachim, listen, this is Abraham, my friend, right? Don't go to Abraham acting like you would with other people. Deal with Abraham delicately. If Abraham have questions, let's deal with those questions. If Abraham got issues, let's deal with those issues. Be easy on Abraham. I'm telling you, I'm warning you. Be easy with Abraham. That's my guy. And so when Abraham say, I ain't ready, this chief Malachim do what? He go back to Yah like, hey, your boy say he ain't ready. What you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're picking up. Let's read chapter 10.
So not 8.
Did I say 8?
Yeah.
Oh, I meant 8. You're right. Let's read chapter 8 and 9, 10, 11. Yeah, we see some. Let me double check something real quick. Yeah, it's numbered wrong, but yeah. Let's go through 11 first.
You said you want to do 11 first, go do it.
No, through 11, yeah. Starting at 8.
Okay.
You guys have access to that? Yes, so far, so far. Okay, it became one of my favorites too. All right, Mama, whenever you're ready.
All right. Then the chief captain went down to the house of Abraham, and he sat down with him at the table.
Is that 8?
Or you know it's in Roman numbers. What's 8?
Okay, V and 3 I's. Come out of my room, whoever that is.
V and 3 I's.
Yes.
I don't see it's V. I see IV.
So V is 5. Close the door.
That's fine.
The chief captain, hearing these words, immediately vanished. Let me type this in here for y'all that don't know. That is
That don't say that what that.
chapter 8.
What is your chapter 8?
Huh?
What is your chapter 8 7?
The chief captain, hearing these words, immediately.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Okay. The chief captain, hearing these words, immediately vanished, and ascending into heaven, stood before Yahuah, and told all that he had seen in the house of Abraham. And the chief captain said this also to his master.
Mhm.
Thus says thy friend Abraham,
It's your boy.
I will not go with you, but do whatever you need to do. And now, almighty power, doth thy esteem and immortal kingdom order aught? Yahuah said to the chief captain Michael, go to my friend Abraham yet one more time,
Mhm.
and speak this to him.
Mhm.
Thus said Yahuah, thy power. He that brought thee into the land of promise, that blessed thee above the sand of the sea and above the stars of the heaven,
Mhm.
that opened the womb of barrenness of Sarah, and granted thee Isaac as the fruit of the womb in old age. Verily, I say unto you, that blessings I will bless thee, and I will multiply thy seed, and I will give thee all that thou shalt ask from me, for I am the master, your power. And besides me there is no other. Tell me why thou hast rebelled against me, and why there is grief in thee, and why thou rebelled against my archangel Michael. Now knowest thou not that all who have came from Adam and Eve have to die, and that none of the prophets
have died.
Mm-hmm. And that none of the prophets has escaped death. None of those that rule as kings is immortal. None of thy forefathers has escaped the mystery of death. They have all died. They have all departed into Hades. They are all gathered by the sickle of death. But upon thee I have not sent death. I have not suffered any deadly disease to come upon thee. I have not permitted the sickle of death to meet thee. I have not allowed the nets of Hades to enfold thee. Mm-hmm. I have never wished thee to meet any evil. But for good comfort, I have sent my rays with it. He said to me, there are 12 hours of the day, and then I shall take all the rays. As the shining man says this, I saw the son of my house ascending into heaven.
That's the Malachim, the shining man.
But that crown I saw no more, and that the son like thee, my father. And Micaiah said to Abraham, thy son Isaac has spoken the truth, for thou shalt go and be taken up into the heavens, but thy body shall remain on earth until 7,000 ages are fulfilled. For then all flesh shall arise. Now therefore, Abraham, set thy house in order, and thy children, for thou hast heard fully what is decreed concerning thee.
Pause for a second. So Isaac had a dream before this happened. And when the angel came, first of all, Sarah recognized who the Malachim was before Abraham did. And when she told Abraham, she pulled him to the side, and Abraham was like, you're right. This is the one that came with me, that came with the other two angels when they came to meet me, and two of them left to go to Sodom. So we're dealing with that same Malachim. Remember, 3 came, 2 left, 1 stayed to talk to Abraham. Okay. So he's like, yeah, you're right. And he asked the Malachim why he came, and the Malachim, the angel Michael, said, your son knows. And the son described his dream, in which the dream dealt with the sun and the moon being taken from him. And he was giving him the interpretation of the dream, saying that it's basically time for Abraham and Sarah to go. And so there is this reading here where it says your body is going to remain, but I'm taking your soul. So again, we read these extra biblical sources, and sometimes we read things that vary a little bit. And my process, and I'm giving you the way I deal with this information, and the way my household deals with this information. What it says in the Standard 66 is first and foremost. And so if something that I'm reading here deviates from that, it has to fit in some way, make it make sense, in other words, right? And so when it's talking about his soul going up into the heavens, I don't believe that it was saying Abraham was going up into the heavens. I believe that just like we read about Abraham's bosom in Scripture or in the Standard 66, and as we read about it in Enoch, that there is probably a place that is a waiting place for the breath of life that Yah recalls from you at the time that you go home. And each of us that has the breath of life that is recalled, when Yahuah sorts those out, he's sorting some out over here and he's sorting some out over there as they wait for judgment, because there's only one judgment, right? And so at the time of judgment, those who have been asleep, as the Bible says, these are those that sleep until judgment. Those who have been asleep and those who are called to judgment at that time will all be judged at once. So it's not going to be a whole bunch of mini judgments. There's only one judgment. right? So I just want to clarify that as we go forward. Okay, go ahead.
Chief Cap, I think mine gets scrambled. Does yours say Chief
Why
Captain
aren't
Michael?
you reading from the same link I gave you?
I did, supercredible.com.
Oh, okay. Chief Captain is correct.
Okay. Chief Captain Micaiah, to thee, that thou mayest know thy departure from the world, and set thy house in order, and all that belongs to thee, and bless Isaac thy beloved son. And now know that I have done this, not wishing to grieve thee. Wherefore then hast thou said to my chief captain, I will not go with you? Wherefore hast thou spoken this? Knowest thou not that if I give leave to death, and he comes upon thee, then I shall see whether thou wilt come or not? And the chief captain, receiving the exhortations of the master, went down to Abraham. And seeing him, the righteous one, fell upon his face to the ground as one dead. And the chief captain told him all that he had heard from the Most High. Then the set apart and just Abraham, rising with many tears, fell at the feet of the incorporeal and besought him, saying, I beseech thee, chief captain of the host above.
So now he respecting him as who he is.
Since thou hast wholly deigned to come thyself to me, a sinner, and in all things thy unworthy servant, I beseech thee even now, O chief captain, to carry my word yet again to the Most High. And thou shalt say to him, Thus says Abraham thy servant.
Oh, here we go.
Master, in every work and word which I have asked of thee, thou hast heard me, and hast fulfilled all my counsel. Now, Master, I resist not thy power, for I too know that I am not immortal, but mortal. Since therefore to thy command all things yield, and fear and tremble at the face of thy power, I also fear. But I ask one request of thee, and now, Master, my power, hear my prayer. For while I still in this body, I desire to see all the inhabited earth, and all the creations which thou did establish.
I ain't
by
seen
one
everything
word.
I want to see yet. I'm
And
not
when
ready. Go ahead.
And when I see these, then I shall depart from life. I
Okay.
shall be without sorrow.
He said, this body.
Yeah.
So the chief captain went back again and stood before Yahuah and told him all, saying, Thus says your friend Abraham, I desire to behold all the earth in my lifetime before I die. And the Most High, hearing this, again commanded the chief captain Micaiah and said to him, Take a cloud of light, and the angels that have power over the chariots, and go down and take the righteous Abraham upon the chariot of the cherubim, and exalt him into the air of the heaven, that he may behold all the earth.
Pause there for a second. So I didn't intend to point this out, but since we're here, and he said to him, take a cloud of light. I want y'all to think back to Exodus, right? He said, take a cloud of light, and the angels, the Malachim, that have power over the chariots, cloud chariots, and go down and take the righteous Abraham upon a chariot, cloud, of cherubim, and exalt him into the air of the heaven, that he may behold out to all the earth. Now, I don't find this to conflict with Mashiach saying no man goes into heaven, because there are several layers of heaven. The layer of the atmosphere that the birds fly in, scripture calls heavens, right? The layer of earth that airplanes fly in, which is above the clouds, technically and literally, right? That's called heavens. So for him to say, go ahead and grant Abraham his request, take him up on a chariot in the clouds and show him what he's asking for so we can go and get this done. I don't find that to conflict with scripture. Men have gone above the clouds, yet they have not entered into the layers and levels of heaven where the Heavenly Father dwells. Does that make sense?
They don't go past the dome.
They don't go past the dome, as real
Nobody
said.
go
Right.
past
Right. Okay, I just want to clarify. But I also wanted to point out that, like, if y'all watching Ancient Aliens and, you know, the History Channel and stuff like that, and you see that in these civilizations of antiquity, they drew flying machines before now, it's quite possible that they did see flying things because things were flying. And we're reading here where a man was on something flying, not just an angel. We read it in Ezekiel too. Is it Ezekiel? Yeah, we read it in Ezekiel too. Okay, go ahead. 10, X.
You gotta let me know when I get to I'll point the bottom. So
And the archangel.
Okay. And the archangel Michael went down and took Abraham upon a chariot of the cherubim, and exalted him into the air of heaven, and led him upon the clouds together with 60 angels.
Wow.
And Abraham ascended upon the chariot over all the earth. And Abraham
That's royal treatment right there.
came. And Abraham saw the world as it was in that day. Some plowing, others driving wains. In one place, men herding flocks. And in another, Abraham answered and said to Michael, I beseech thee, master, if I shall depart from my body, I have desired to be taken to be taken up in my body, that I may see the creatures that the master, my power, has created in heaven and on earth. Michael answered and said, this is not for me to do, but I shall go and tell the master of this. And if I am commanded, I shall show thee all these things. And Michael went up into the heaven and spoke before the master concerning Abraham. And the master answered Michael, go and take up Abraham in the body, and show him all the things, and whatsoever he shall say to thee, do to him as to my friend. So Michael went forth and took up Abraham in the body on a cloud, and brought him to the river of Ocean. Watching them by night, and dancing and playing and harping in another place, men striving and contending at law. Elsewhere men were weeping and having the dead in remembrance. He saw also the newly wedded received with honor, and in a word, he saw all things that are done in the world, both good and bad.
Imagine how fast whatever that was traveled, that he could see the whole entire world in a day.
Abraham, therefore, passing over them, saw men bearing swords, wielding in their hands sharpened swords. And Abraham asked the chief captain, who are these? And the chief captain said, these are thieves who intend to commit murder, and to steal and burn and destroy. And Abraham said, Master, master, hear my voice, and command the wild beast may come out the wood and devour them. And even as he spoke, there came wild beasts out of the wood and devoured them. And he saw in another place a man with a woman committing fornication with each other, and said, Master, master, command the earth may open up and swallow them. And straightway the earth was cleft and swallowed them. And he saw in another place men digging through a house and carrying away another man's possession. And he said, Master, master, command that fire may come down from heaven and consume them.
Get him.
And even as he spoke, fire came down from heaven and consumed them. And straightway there came a voice from heaven to the chief captain. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, Captain Michael. Command the chariots to stop.
Now here he told him to take Abraham, whatever Abraham asked, do. And Abraham about to rid the earth of everything. Everything. He had to tell him, stop, brother, stop. Wait, no, stop. Too fast. Go ahead.
And Michael commanded the chariots to stop and turn Abraham away, that he might not see any more of the earth. For if he beheld all the live in wickedness, that live in wickedness, he would destroy all creation. For behold, Abraham has not sinned and has no pity on sinners. But I have made the world, and I desire not to destroy any one of them, but wait for the death of the sinner, till he be converted and live. But take Abraham up to the first gate of heaven, that he may see there the judgments and recompenses, and repent of the souls of the sinners that he has destroyed.
Okay, pause there. So look, he allowed Abraham to see that so that he could show Abraham how to have compassion on people, right? So what happens after that is he allows Abraham to have a vision of, in my words, a vision of how judgment is going to operate, right? And he shows him Adam seeing his children going into different gates for judgment, and Adam crying over his children that are not going to make it, and rejoicing over his children that make it, and shows him how many more don't make it than those who make it. He shows him the record keepers of those, the record keepers of who did what, sins and whatnot, being Abel and also being Enoch, and keeping record of what's happening and all that. And he sees how people are being measured and what is the determining factor for whether or not they get to go into the gates or whether or not they are condemned to judgment. And he sees those whose weights are equal, meaning their good deeds and their sins are even. And Abraham then begins to ask his escort, well, what happens with these, when their weights are equal? And so that's where we pick up. And this is, I show 9, but I don't know if that's correct.
Show 9?
And Abraham said, and he that cannot enter through the narrow gate, can he not enter into life? That can't be done. Hold on, let me see.
I got it.
What does yours say?
1 and 8.
Right. So that would be 11.
Oh, my belief.
That would be 11. And Abraham said, so we're going to do 11 and then we're going to skip. So just do 11. Let's do this one at a time so we don't lose anybody. So 11, y'all, is going to look like, no, XI. That's 9. Yeah, I think it's numbered wrong there, in all honesty. Yeah. Does that line up for you guys? 11? And Abraham said, and he that cannot enter in through the narrow gate, can he enter into life? That'll be the first sentence of that chapter. I pray that's right. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And Abraham said, and he that cannot enter through the narrow gate, can he not enter into life? Then Abraham wept, saying, woe to me, what shall I do? For I am a man, broad and of body. And how shall I be able to enter by the narrow gate, by which a boy of 15 years cannot enter? Micaiah answered and said to Abraham, fear not, father, nor grieve, for thou shalt enter into it, thou shalt enter by it unhindered, and all those who are like thee.
So remember, his name means father. So they call him by what his name means.
His name means. Okay. Fear not,
have a
father.
seat over there. Have a seat over there, be still. Thank you.
And as Abraham stood and marveled, behold, an angel of the master driving 60,000 souls of sinners to destruction. And Abraham said to Micaiah, do all these go into destruction? And Micaiah said to him, yeah, but let us go and search among those souls, if there is among them even one righteous. And when they went, they found an angel holding in his hand one soul of a woman from among these 60,000, because he had found her sins weighing equally with all her works. And they were neither in motion nor at rest, but in a state between. But the other souls he led away to destruction. Abraham said to MashiYahch, Master, is this the angel that removes the souls from the body or not? And MashiYahch answered and said, this is death. And he leads them into the place of judgment, and that the judge may try them.
Okay, hallelujah. So, so Abraham has shown this vision of those whose sins and righteousness are equal and in need of intercession for atonement of sins, right? Like Koti said, now we get an opportunity to see whether or not Abraham is going to stand in the gap. Let's move on to, it should be listed in yours as XIV. I think that's going to put us where we need to be.
What does it say?
It says, and Abraham said to the chief captain, my master, the chief captain. Is that how yours is listed?
I got, Abraham said to MashiYahch, Master, who is this judge? Nope.
My master, the chief captain. The soul which the angel held in his hand. How is that listed in yours?
XIV.
Good. So we're on the same page. They whoever put this together mishandled the Roman numerals. So obviously we ain't the only ones who have difficulty with Roman numerals. Because that says 14 according to what it says, but I don't think that's accurate. Okay, so we're reading 14. Dang, you got to scroll down a little bit. We're going to read 14, and we're going to end with that, wrapping it up with 14.
And Abraham said to the chief captain, my master, the chief captain, the soul which the angel held in his hand, why was it adjudged to be set in the midst? And the chief captain said, listen, righteous Abraham, because the judge found its sins and its righteousness equal, he neither committed it to judgment nor to be saved, until the judge of all shall come. Abraham said to the chief captain, and what yet is wanting for the soul to be saved?
What else is needed, in other words? What else is needed? What can we do here? How can we help this individual? Now, Abraham has gotten convicted.
The chief captain said, if it obtains one righteous above its sins, it enters into salvation. Abraham said to the chief captain, come hither, chief captain Michael. Let us make prayer for this soul and see whether Yahuah will hear us. The chief captain said, Salah, be it so. And they made prayer and entreated for the soul. And Yahuah heard them. And when they rose up from their prayer, they did not see the soul standing there. And Abraham said to the Malachim, where is the soul that thou didst hold in thy hand? And the Malachim answered, it has been saved by thy righteous prayer. And behold, a Malachim of light has taken it and carried it up into paradise. And Abraham said, I set apart the name of Yahuah, the Most High, and his immeasurable mercy, and Abra into life.
I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, but go ahead.
And if the soul make not atonement and repent, thou shalt find its sins written down, and it shall be cast into punishment. Ham said to Abraham, says to the chief captain, I beseech thee, archangel.
I believe that should have been Abraham said to the chief captain. Go ahead.
Hearken to my prayer, and yet let us call upon the master and supplicate his compassion, and entreat his mercy for the souls of the sinners whom I formerly in my anger cursed and destroyed, whom the earth devoured, and the wild beasts tore in pieces, and the fire consumed through my words. Now I know that I have sinned before the master, our Yahuah. Come then, O MashiYahch, chief captain of the host above. Come, and let us call upon Yahuah with tears, that he may forgive me my sin, and grant them to me. And the chief captain heard him, and they made entreaty before the master. And when they called upon him for a long space, there came a voice from heaven saying, Abraham, Abraham, I have hearkened to thy voice in thy prayer.
Pause for a second there. No, and forgive thy sin. I apologize. Pause there for a second. So listen to what's being said. Abraham himself is saying here that he now sees that if a being is not atoned for and repented and finds sins written down, it shall be cast into the lake. And he then goes to pray with the archangel, not just any angel. And they intercede on behalf of all of those who Abraham hastily judged. And if it was just up to Abraham and his misunderstanding at that time, he would have condemned all them people to the fire. But who is he dealing with? Who is this he's dealing with that is showing Abraham, hey, my goal is not for all these people to die. My goal is for these people to come into life. That's the goal. And if we can get them to understand that, and if we could atone for and introduce repentance of sins, I'm good with that. If it's true repentance, I'm good with that. And then it says, they called upon him with tears. And that sounds kind of like affliction to me. We were talking about affliction yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. And it says that they called upon him for a long space of time. That kind of sounds like atonement. It sounds like they're making an atoning offering of prayer, not a sacrifice of an animal, but it sounds like they're making an atoning offering of prayer on behalf of those people before the atonement sacrifice was even instituted into the Levitical priesthood. Does that look like that to you? Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. Those whom
go back to, and there came a voice from heaven.
Okay.
Please.
And there came a voice from heaven saying, Abraham, Abraham, I have hearkened to thy voice and thy prayer, and forgive thee thy sin. And thus whom thou thinkest that I destroyed, I have called up and brought them into life by my exceeding kindness. Because for a season I have requited them in judgment. And those whom I destroyed living upon the earth, I will not requite in that.
So it seems like he's making a distinction between, even in those that Abraham told him to take, he said, look, I took them, it was time for me to take them, but I didn't utterly destroy them as in the final destruction. I know that's what you thought happened, but I know everything, right? So I wanted you to see something. But those who I destroy, when I destroy, oh, they will be destroyed. I'm making a distinction here. Let's go back to Genesis 19. So I see a bit of a difference, like in this portion of Abraham's life, which was before he died, from what he was doing when he was trying to save Lot. At that point, he was like, look, if you could just save Lot, I'm good with that. You can take everybody else.
He was old. He had probably got kind of bitter with mankind.
Yeah, I bet.
You know what I'm saying?
I bet. But he did intercede on their behalf, and Lot wasn't 100.
No.
Lot had some issues, man. But he did intercede on his behalf. Okay, Genesis 19, we're going to read 1 through 14. Genesis 19, 1 through 14. Whenever you're ready.
And the two messengers came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom. And when Lot saw them, he rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground.
So Lot wasn't completely out of his mind, right? The same thing that caused Abraham to recognize these men when they showed up and do what he did. Lot recognized these men, and he knew where he was at, and he knew the place that he was living in, and he made sure that he went and paid the respect that he believed was deserved them, right? Okay, go ahead.
And he said, look, please, my masters, please turn into your servant's house and spend the night, and wash your feet and rise early and go your way. And they said, no, but let us spend the night in the open square.
Why? What's going on in the open square? You remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all kind of
Yeah.
extortion and
Yeah, all kind of debauchery.
all kind of debauchery.
So no. We want to stay in the open square. We want to see if they're gonna do what we've heard they've been doing. Because if they do that, it's done. It's over with. Go ahead.
But he urged them strongly, and they turned in to him and came into his house. And he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people from every part surrounded the house.
They say men and women?
Well, all the people.
Yeah, I see men of the city, men of Sodom, both old and young. Then it says people from every part, but I don't know. I'm reading. Go ahead.
Before they lay down, no. And they called to Lot and said to him, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us and let us know them.
Okay, so let's pause for a second. There's a lot of things being taught, especially coming out of Christian church, about why Sodom and Gomorrah was tore up the way it was tore up. And most of the time we hear sodomy, right? Homosexuality, homosexuals running rampant. Well, if that was the only thing going on, that's going on right here, right now, today. And this Sodom still ain't been tore up yet or burned down. So that can't be all that was going on. The question is, what does it mean to know? Let's look at that real quick. Let's go to the Hebrew Strong's Concordance and look at the definition for to know. And I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all, because to know literally means to know, but it also means to know, literally. But let's read it so we know for sure. That is Yadah, H3045. Let's write that up there for me, please. Yadah. Yadah, Y-A-D-A. Or you want the Hebrew?
H3045?
3045, correct. Yod Dalet Ayin. Yadah. Yadah. And I'm going to read Yadah. And it says, it is a primitive root to know, properly to ascertain by seeing, using a great variety of senses, figuratively, and literally, euphemistically, and infraternally, including observation, care, recognition, causatively, instruction, meaning to know through instruction, designation, punishment. What you looking for?
I'm seeing if this is allowed.
Yeah, okay. Right to left, baby, right to left. Okay. Acknowledgement, acquaintance, or to be acquainted with. I know them. Same thing, right? To advise, to answer, to appoint. Assuredly, to be aware. Awareness. Certainly, for a certainty. So to know something for a certainty. Comprehend, consider. Cunning, declare, be diligent. To discern. So Yadah can also mean to discern. To discover. Endued. Is that right? Endowed with, to be endowed with understanding. Familiar, to be familiar. Friend, famous. Famous. Yeah, I know them, they're famous. Feel, yeah, I feel you. I'm gonna add my own flavor there. Can have. Instruct, kinsfolk, kinsmen. You can know somebody that way. To make known, come to give, have knowledge of, to be or make oneself known, to be learned. Here we go. To lie by man, as in like man lie with woman. So to know biblically is that way of knowing. So when we talk about biblically knowing someone, it means to lie with, okay? It can also mean to mark, perceive, to be privy to, like me and you got a secret between each other, or an inside joke. That's to know as well. Prognosticator, regard, have respect, skillful, show. We crossed the main ones. So through context, we will have to discern what type of know this was talking about when it said in verse 5, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us. Let us know them. Oh, let us inquire of them. Let us learn from them. Let us get to know them. I think they're famous. I think I know them. Like, is that what they meant? Well, let's see. I mean, we can presume. I think I got an idea, but let's read it and see. Go ahead and pick up at 6.
So Lot went out to them through the doorway and shut the door behind him.
Beautiful. Shut the door.
And said, please, my brothers, do not do this evil.
Pause. Would it be evil for them to inquire who they are?
No.
Or to just get to know them? Or to ask them to teach them something, to be discerning? That's not evil. What would be evil about them knowing these two Melakim? Go ahead.
Look, please, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man.
Stop. What does he mean when he says he has 2 daughters that have not known a man?
Take them and stay.
Okay, we're talking about the biblical version of to know. And here's the thing. When you look at the word in that verse, and when you look at the word in verse 8, it is the same word. It is Yadah. Okay, so again, through context, you have to understand what was meant by knowing in this segment, right? So he says, I have 2 daughters. He's begging them. He's like, look, please don't do evil to these men or these angels. Either way, if they men and it's men outside this door, or if you thought they were men, I know they're angels. Or even if you knew they were angels, because you've seen angels before, you've dealt with fallen angels, you've dealt with giants. So you recognize angels and you recognize men. Either way, he's saying, don't do evil. Look, I got 2 daughters that have not known a man. What does he tell them after that, Rick?
Please, let me bring them out to you and do to them as you wish. Only do not do this deed to these men, because they have come under the shadow of my roof. Okay, great. So now he said, I got 2 virgin daughters. You can do with my daughters as you wish. Now that's harsh. I get it. But Lot at this point was trying to save him, his household, from them people doing what they was trying to do to them angels, which was what he was saying they could do with his daughters if they wanted. So that's the biblical note, to save him and his household from the certain destruction of them trying to do that to these angels, right? Listen, that I can repent of. What y'all finna do is gonna cause destruction on everybody here, right? Okay, go ahead. But they said, stand back. And they said, this one came in to sojourn, and should he always judge us? Now, we are going to treat you worse than them. So they pressed hard against the man Lot and came near to break down the door. So they doing the same thing now with Lot. They say, look, you remind us of them other strangers that came through trying to judge us. Eleazar came through trying to judge us. Who is you, man? You a sojourner. You can't come in here trying to judge us. This is what we do, right? We got a right to be who we are, what we are. We got the right to be a gender. We got the right to be. Don't get me kicked off YouTube. Yeah, all that. Yeah, we're gonna get canceled. But you get it. You know what I'm saying? This non-binary, gender non-binary, all that type of stuff. This is in essence what they're saying. We wanna what is it called when you what's the word they use when they say they don't make distinction between men, women, animals, anything, sleep or whatever. What is it called? Pansexual. Yeah. Want to be pansexual. Well, that will include sleeping with angels, right? Fallen angels and all that, right? Yeah, you can't judge us if we say we pansexual. You know, we all the God's creatures. That's what they're telling him. And they about to smash him.
trying to bust through that door. And if these angels didn't intercede now, physically, literally, they probably would have smashed Lot. But go ahead.
But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, and they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said to Lot, have you anyone else here, a son-in-law, and your sons and your daughters, and whomever you have in the city? Bring them out of this place, for we are going to destroy this place, because the cry against them has grown great before the face of Yahuah, and Yahuah has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-laws who had married his daughters, and said, get up, get out of this place, for Yahuah is going to destroy this city. But to his son-in-laws, he seemed to be a joke.
Right. So here we have Lot, and possibly even his son-in-laws and his daughters and his sons. They have the ability to be covered because of Abraham's intercession. They choose now whether they are going to walk out in that protection, or whether or not they're going to stay in that place that's going to be destroyed. Very similar to when we read about the destruction of Egypt, very similar to when we read about the prophecy of the destruction of Mystery Babylon, right? Stop playing over there. Put that down. Really. So if you hit that and turn it on, then what you going to do? We'll say, oops. Okay. Now, look at this. I apologize, man. Abraham petitioned for Lot and his family, right? He had at least 2 virgin daughters, right? We don't know if if that was one of the virgin daughters or one of the married daughters. So I'm just saying at the very least. He had 2 virgin daughters at the very least. He had 2 daughters that was married at least. So that means he had 2 son-in-laws at least. And then he had 2 sons, at least 2 sons, because he said he had sons, plural. Plus him and his wife, that's 10 people.
Wow, get out. Yep.
If we just count at the very least of what he had, that's 10 people.
Abraham worked his way out.
Abraham, look, if you could find 10 righteous, and look, the rest is on Lot. If Lot doing what he's supposed to do, I did what I could do. That's how I feel like Abraham meant that. You know what I mean? Let's go back to Jasher. Let's go back to Jasher 19. We're picking up in 48. I'm reading 48 through 60. Jasher 19, 48 through 60. Okay, good. All right, whenever you're ready.
And the angel said to Lot, arise, go forth from this place, thou and all belonging to thee, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of this city, for the master will destroy this place. And the angels laid a hold upon the hand of Lot, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hands of his children, and all belonging to him, and they brought him forth and set him without the cities. And they said to Lot, escape for thy life. And he fled, and all belonging to him. Then the master rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah, and upon all the cities brimstone and fire from the master out of the heaven. And he overthrew these cities, all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the city, and that which grew upon the ground. And Ado, the wife of Lot, looked back to see the destruction of the cities, for her compassion was moved on account of her daughters who remained in Sodom, for they did not go with her.
So she had daughters, and they had sons-in-laws, evidently, unless those were the virgin daughters, that chose to stay. Remember, the son-in-laws laughed at him like he must have been joking, like he was crazy or something. Kind of like they laughed at Noah, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when she looked back, she became a pillar of salt. And it is yet in that place until this day. And the oxen which stood in that place daily licked up the salt to the extremities of their feet. And in the morning it will spring forth afresh. And they again licked it up again to this day.
Now look, that place was made like salt. We read about some places even to this day, and geographically, we hear about some places to this day. Don't nothing grow there. They call it dead because it's full of salt. Now, I don't know if that's the exact same place. I don't want to presume it is without knowing, but this place got so much salt in it, they call it dead. It's even around what they call the Dead Sea, because it's so much salt there. And if he's saying to this day, then you better believe it's to this day. Okay. In addition to that, when fire and brimstone rained down on that city, Scripture says that it was so hot. It was so hot that it incinerated that place. Think of like thermal, hydrogen, nuclear warfare. Worse, right? It incinerated that place, and it was so bad, and it burned it so fast that the structures still stood. They were just ash. The structures still stood. They were just ash. The places that they believe that is today, they have people going over there, and you can look it up. I know I'm rehashing this for some of you, but look up Ron White on YouTube, discovering Sodom and Gomorrah, and they got scientists over there that took samples of that of the material that they found over there, and they take it into the lab to test it, and it still tests and burn a different color than regular materials. It still burns hotter. It burns purple. We know the hottest color of things that burn in our scientific on our scientific grading scale. The hottest color is blue. This burns purple. Hotter than the blue. Okay, going on from there.
And Lot and two of his daughters that remained with him fled to escape to the cave Adullam, and they remained there for some time. And Abraham rose up early in the morning to see what had been done to the city of Sodom. And he looked, and behold, the smoke of the cities going up like the smoke of a furnace.
Now he's cities away. Remember, Sodom and Gomorrah is cities. Even Sodom had cities in it. And he just blew up Sodom for all intents and purposes. And it was so bad that Abraham could see the smoke from miles away. Miles away. That's pretty bad. Go ahead.
And Lot and his two daughters remained in the cave, and they made their father drink wine, and they lay with him. For they said, there was no man upon the earth that could raise up seed from them, for they thought that the whole earth was destroyed. And they both lay with their father, and they conceived and bare sons. And the firstborn called the name of her son Moab, saying, from my father did I conceive him. He is the father of the Moabites unto this day.
To this day.
And the younger also called her son Ben-Ami. He is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day.
To this day.
And after this, Lot and his two daughters went away from there. He dwelt on the other side of the Jordan with his two daughters and their sons. And the sons of Lot grew up, and they went and took themselves wives from the land of Canaan. And they begot children, and they were fruitful and multiplied.
So who did Moab and Ben-Ami take wives for themselves of?
Canaanites.
Interesting. They didn't go and try to breed back in with Abraham's children at all. They said, "No, we gonna go over here and be with Canaan." Let's read about what is supposed to happen with them two going forward. Let's go to Jubilee 16, read 7 through 9. He's talking about that same event from Jubilees, but just wrapping that up. 7 through 9. 16, chapter 16, verses 7 through 9. Whatever you're ready.
And he blessed and rejoiced.
But Lot we saved for Yahuah remembered Abraham. Mhm.
7. Okay. But Lot we saved, for Yahuah remembered Abraham and sent him out from the midst of the overthrow. And he and his daughters committed sin upon the earth, such as had not been seen on the earth since the days of Adam to his time.
Remember, y'all said, okay, we don't do that no more.
For the man lay with his daughters,
Mm-hmm.
and behold, it was condemned, it was commanded and engraven concerning all his seed,
Mm-hmm.
and on the heavenly tablets, to remove them and root them out, and to execute judgment upon them like the judgment of Sodom, and to leave no seed of the man on earth on the day of condemnation.
So what they did there, it says that it's commanded and engraven concerning all his seed, all Lot's seed, all Moab, all Ammon. It's written on the heavenly tablets that they will be rooted out and they will be executed judgment upon. And anybody who act like them, we're going to do to them the same thing we did to Sodom. Hold your question to the end, please. Okay, let's move on to Jubilee 17. We're just about done. So write it down. Jubilee 17, we're going to read all of it. And that's what we're wrapping up. 17, 1 through 18. Yeah, that's fine. Jubilee 17. Okay, whenever you're ready.
And in the first year of the 5th week, Isaac was weaned in this Jubilee. And Abraham made a great banquet in the 3rd month on the day his son Isaac was weaned.
Pause for a second. There is this conversation we have sometimes, especially people that are new to the truth, when you have babies on the way and people do baby showers. And people ask, is baby showers? Because I know everything else we talk about, all this stuff is wicked, and people say, well, do we do baby showers? Well, it's not our custom. Let's just put it like that. Whether or not you do a baby shower or not, let me phrase that differently. I don't have no stones in my pocket to throw at you. But this was our custom. We're reading about it here. When Isaac was weaned, after he was weaned from his mother's milk, then they threw the banquet where everybody came and brought gifts and rejoiced and all that. They understood at that point that he was most likely to live. We know, right, that the mother's milk supply most of the nutrients that that baby needs to get through those first weeks and months of their life. And if they don't live, sometimes it's in those days that the baby is most likely not to make it, right? Especially in those days. Now, through modern medicine, they pumping the baby full of all kind of stuff. Live, jab, live, jab. Put this in the eyeball. Put this in the IV.
In the eyeball?
Yeah, they put stuff in the eyeball.
Oh yeah.
They do that. All the vitamins. Give them these shots. Give them the. Did they get the not the booster? That's later. They shots. What's the word I'm looking for? Vaccinations.
In Ghana.
Gotta give them the vaccinations.
In Ghana.
MMR, measles, mumps, rubella. That's right. Sold out.
In Ghana, the custom is they have a naming ceremony on the 8th day of the baby's life, or what they do is they have their after the baby has lived,
yeah,
and then they name them and have what we would call a baby shower.
Yeah, and that's interesting. You say that's in Ghana. Mm-hmm. Are you sure they do it on the 8th day?
I want to say it's the 8th day, but
possibly the 8th day, but that would make sense. Mm-hmm. On the same day that you are doing the circumcision, you're also doing the naming. Let me tell you something else that's part of our custom. Because our names meant something, and we didn't just arbitrarily come up with names, we also named our children according to what we observed about the child, right? So again, we read a scripture just yesterday, that says that that you can discern even a child through their actions, whether it's righteous or unrighteous, whether they're good or bad, right? I'm paraphrasing that. And so even in those early days, you can kind of discern a child enough to decide what you're going to name that child. Akoti just shared with us yesterday that her child was praising. her child wanted to praise at the ages of 1 and 2 before they could even really talk good, but could walk, but they wanted to go around and praise with people. Like, you can discern those things. So that is a thing. Okay. So I just wanted to say that, you know, that's our custom. If you choose to do a baby shower before the birth, that's up to you. But if you're asking what our customs are, these are our customs. Go ahead.
And Ishmael, the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, was before the face of Abraham, his father, in his place. And Abraham rejoiced and blessed Yahuah because he had seen his sons and had not died childless.
Hallelujah.
And he remembered the words which he had spoken to him on the day on which Lot had parted from him. And he rejoiced because the master had given him seed upon the earth to inherit the earth. And he blessed with all his mouth the creator of all things. But Sarah saw Ishmael playing and dancing, and Abraham rejoicing with great joy. And she became jealous of Ishmael and said to Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman will not be heir with my son Isaac.
Now, first of all, where was the lie?
There wasn't no lie.
There was no lie. But it does say that this was jealousy that caused that. And look, when we do the Q&A, if you don't mind, since you're in here, let's let the marriage couple speak to what in your processing, what y'all think might have been going on with Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar and that whole triangle, since y'all professionals on the subject.
You talking about
yeah, we
Mr.
got
Eric and Madam Elaine?
We got the Johnsons in here with us.
We got
Shalom and welcome, family.
Jealousy is real.
Jealousy is real. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. And the thing was grievous in Abraham's sight because of his maidservant and because of his son, that he should drive them from him. And Yahuah said to Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight, because of the child and because of the bondwoman. And all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken to her words and do them. For in Isaac shall thy name and thy seed be called.
There we go. There's another confirmation once again. Go ahead.
But as for the son of this bondwoman, I will make him a great nation, because he is of thy seed. And Abraham whirled up early in the morning and took bread and a bottle of water, and placed them on the shoulders of Hagar and the child, and sent her away.
He didn't even ask no questions. And you see he loved him, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I apologize.
And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba, and the water in the bottle was spent, and the child thirsted and was not able to go on and fell down. And his mother took him and cast him under an olive tree, and went and sat her down over against him at the distance of a bow shot. For she said, let me not see the death of my child. And as she sat, she wept. And the angel of Yahuah, one of the set apart ones, said unto her, why weepest thou, Hagar? Arise and take thy child, and hold him in thy hand. For Yahuah hath heard thy voice, and hath seen the child. And she opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled her bottle with water. And she gave her child to drink. And she arose and went towards the wilderness of Paran. And the child grew and became an archer. And Yahuah was with him. And his mother took him a wife from among the daughters of Egypt. And she bare him a son, and called his name Neboy. For she said, the master has nigh to me when I called upon him. And it came to pass in the 7th week, in the 1st year thereof, in the 1st month, in this Jubilee, on the 12th of this month, there were voices in heaven regarding Abraham, that he was faithful in all that he had told him, and that he loved the master, and that in every affliction he was faithful.
What do y'all think these voices in the heaven regarding Abraham were?
And the devil came and said before Yahuah, behold, Abraham loves Isaac his son. He delights in him above all these things. Bid him offer him as a burnt offering on the altar, and thou wilt see if he will do all that you commanded.
You'll see.
thou will know if he is really faithful in everything wherein thou dost try him.
Mm-hmm.
And the master knew that Abraham was faithful in all his afflictions.
Huh.
For he had tried him through his country and with famine, and had tried him with wealth of kings,
Mm-hmm.
and had tried him again through his wife,
Mm-hmm.
when she was torn from him, and with circumcision,
Mm-hmm.
and had tried him through Ishmael and Hagar, his maidservant, when he sent them away.
Mm-hmm.
And in everything wherein he had tried him, he was found faithful.
Mm.
And his soul was not impatient, and he was not slow to act, for he was faithful and a lover of the master.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So, I mean, that reminds me of in Job. And Job is a little bit more explicit when it says that the sons of Yahuah came before Elohim. And the deceiver, the accuser, came also to accuse Job and say, look, man, you giving him everything he wants. What you expect? Of course he gonna bless you and not reject you. But Yah said about Abraham, I've tried Abraham in all things. Abraham is not going to default. So you can guess where we're going next week. I thought it's interesting also when we're looking at, because we're looking at these lineages, right? So now we're looking at we saw Lot, we saw what was to become of his children because they then married off into Canaanites, Moab, Benjamin, married off into the Canaanites. And they're gonna cause us some issue. We're gonna have to deal with them later on. But now we see that even though Yah promises Abraham that he is going to grow Ishmael into a great nation, and we read it from the KJV yesterday. He said he's gonna be a wild man, every man against him, and his hand against his own brother. But it says that he married who? A wife of who? Egypt, just like his mother. So again, now you have this son who was birthed as a Hebrew with the customs and the traditions of a Hebrew, but his mother's customs and traditions are that of Egypt, and so are his wife's.
Does that explain why Abiyah do later come and say Egypt is my people?
That's a good question. That's a good question. But he is definitely, like I said, the progenitor of the Arabs, of the Arab nations. And when you look closely into the philosophy or the theology of Islam, that is what it is. It is Egyptology mixed with some Hebraic understanding, right? To then later come, especially with us, with brews that try to gravitate toward Nation of Islam or, the teachings of Malachi York that came up today, any of that stuff. Once you dig into that, it's craziness to come now and say that's the origin when Abraham was before, right? Abraham was before, and if you're looking at dynastic civilizations, again, Babylon and Samaria, Chaldea before that. So to start with Egypt always baffles me. Fam, that is our portion for today.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah and Hodaya. And Kane, anybody that wants to come up with Q&A or comments or share, feel free. I'm gonna mute my mic just for a second.
Should your hand up? You want to come up to the mic?
You talking to me?
Did you say so?
Oh no, I had a question. Like when we was reading about Abraham and when he was praying for the people, and you know how in Luke it talks about Abraham's bosom. Is that where that came from, as far as like them being put into Abraham's bosom until the Messiah went down into Sheol and freed them because he was praying for them after he had compassion.
I'm sorry, sis. Can you repeat that one more time?
I was asking about Abraham's bosom in the book of Luke when they talk about Abraham's bosom and how he was when we was reading where he had compassion for the people, he started praying for them. Is that where it came from as far as like how it was developed when he went to go see the world, and then Yah was showing him the compassion of people and who was to be saved and who wasn't to be saved?
Cain, yeah, I was referencing Abraham's bosom. I think that Abraham's bosom sounds like the same thing that Enoch describes. Enoch describes a place where, again, when I speak, I try to be clear and deliberate about what I believe I'm reading. So I don't use the word soul when we're talking about the breath that Yahuah blew into Adam and Hawa. I do believe that there are two versions of the word soul. One is literally nefesh, meaning this physical thing that Yahuah created for us to reside in. I do believe that another version of that word soul or nefesh deals with your individual heart and mind and what makes me an individual versus you, right? But the thing that he blew into us, his spirit, his ruach, is his breath of life. And that also is individual to us because, as we just read yesterday, it is a lamp for Yahuah that witnesses to everything that we do in our life. And so that breath that's in us is also individual to us, and he lent it to us, and at the time that he calls us home, he recalls it. And so that is what I believe rests, according to Enoch and according to Luke and according to what we just read in the Testament of Abraham, in a place until judgment. We read about Abel crying out from the soil, and we read about we read somewhere, I can't quote it off the top of my head as far as book, chapter, and verse, where Yah says that the voice of Abel still cries out, meaning that what was on his heart and what was recorded within Abel at the time that his brother killed him is still ringing in the ears of Yahuah, if that makes sense. And all the unrighteous things that were done to them that caused them to die earlier than they were supposed to is recorded, and I believe that those cries Yah still hears. And so I think that that's what Abraham's bosom was talking about. You know, there's a place that divides these from those that these cannot cross over to. And I think that, again, Enoch clarifies that a little bit better. Okay, does that help, sis?
Cousin Kimberly asked. She said she had a guy tell
Yes.
95%
Okay,
of
talk.
people that came over to the
Out loud. Did y'all hear it? I'll read it out loud. She was talking about Kimberly's text. It says she had a guy tell her that 95% of the people that came over during the transatlantic slave trade were Muslim. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that somebody told you that. Here's the thing, sis. Do you remember who the first person to take any one of the 12 sons of Jacob into slavery was? Who?
The Ishmaelite, when Joseph got sold by his brothers.
Perfect. So our first slaveholder, period, was Muslim, right? For lack of a better term, we're gonna say Ishmaelite. That's a more PC term. Even when we were ran out of Jerusalem in 70 AD, if you go through the history of the Ivory Coast, the silk trade lines and all of that, that was also known as what? Do y'all remember your history from school?
It was the Red Sea.
So it was the silk, it was the Indian trade, but it was also known as the Arab slave trade. So the Arab slave trade, they were trading all of those goods as well, but they were also trading slaves. We were who they were trading, right? And during that time, they were converting Israelites to Islam by the sword. Don't let nobody lie and tell you that Islam is a peaceful religion. They've always converted by the sword. Again, he will be a wild man, his hand against every nation and every nation's hand against him and his own brother, right? That's prophecy. They've always been like that. And so they were converting even then by the sword. Rib just said the same thing, Eric and Elaine, Kane, Aki and Koti. Just like Christianity, by the sword or by force, or as we read in our history books in school, they claim things by right of arms, ARMS, meaning I'm taking it because I got the bigger, badder army. Do something about it, pretty much. And so they converted a lot of Israelites to Islam. And a lot of Israelites rebelled. You can read about those rebellions in history, where there were skirmishes in the Middle East and on down in Africa and along the Arab trading lines, which was how we got to the other half of the globe before the transatlantic slave trade. That's how we got distributed to the other half of the globe. I should be pointing that way for y'all, I think. And we rebelled through a lot of those, but there was conversions, and there were those who became Moorish, who converted to Islam. And so they were, again, calling themselves Moors, and we looked very much alike. So yes, Moors originally were Arabs, but yes, there are Israelites who were converted by sword and then called themselves Moors going forward.
When they took us from Spain and deposited us on the west coast of Africa, they put us back into the control of the Moors.
Yes.
Then the Moors already had a grudge because they took us out of the control of the Moors.
Sure did.
So when the Spanish was done with us, they deposited us back with the Moors.
Went from them to Spain, because Spain, remember, they were the superpower at the time, right? And so Spain was running things, and then Spain sold us back into captivity again, and we were just getting traded back and forth. The Arabs told, look, when the Romans were looking for us, when we fled down into Africa, okay, when the Romans were looking for us, when we fled down into Africa, it was the Arabs who said, who you looking for? Them? Oh yeah, they good for slaves. There they are. What, you need us to show you where they at? How much you got? We'll show you exactly where they at. And I haven't seen it, but I hear this whole woman king thing dabbles into that a little bit, right? I don't know. That's what I hear. Okay, does that help? Yeah, you're right, sis. All religions and all nations. Remember we talked about in the study of the season of the fall festival, when we talked about atonement and boots, and we talked about how all 70 nations will be gathered up to this place for battle against not only Israel, but Ha MashiYahch. Everybody that took part in what they did to us, because they all took part, are going to be gathered there, because the time of reconciliation will be then. When y'all say gather them all up, I call the birds of the heavens and the beasts of the field to a feast that I am giving to them, drink the blood of the soldiers, of the armies, of the troops, of the great men, the kings, and all of them, drink that blood. That's what it's talking about. That's what it's talking about. What else y'all got? They over here eating in front of me, fam. I'm sitting up here trying to fill these questions for y'all, and they done warmed up some more food. Yeah, they traded us for goods, they traded us for weapons, they traded us for gold, silver, silk.
That's not true. That's not true. That's why they call them for black people to boycott that movement.
What is that we're talking about?
She said she stopped the trade, and the woman queen stopped
She
the trading.
stopped the trading?
She never did.
I don't know the politics of the movie. Riv says from what she researched, she did not stop the trading, and that's why they boycotted the movie. I did see this morning that Lupita, I'm not going to try to pronounce her last name, but the young lady who was in Wakanda, Black Panther, she did the research herself about what the movie was about because they offered her a role. And when she did the research, because she's from Ghana, I believe,
Yeah,
or Nigeria,
they offered her that role.
They offered her that role, and Lupita said, "I can't do that. I can't do that."
Because they lied.
Yeah.
They lied. They make it seem like that tribe was responsible for a lot of us who went down.
Yeah. No, but Coach said she was over the tribe that traded us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions about what we went over today? That's a different topic.
Let's say back to Abraham.
I do.
Okay. What's your question?
So, kind of like a two-part question.
Okay.
So we learned about Moab and Ammon today.
Now who?
Moab and Ammon.
Moab and Ammon. Yep.
And aren't those two of the people or two of the nations that y'all told us not to ever mingle with?
Yes.
Basically.
Yes. Moab and Ammon is definitely among the nations. So when we get into the conversations about whether or not we are supposed to intermarry with other people, whatever you do, whatever you have done, I have no stones in my pocket for you. Scripture literally told us to marry among our own tribe, not only among our own nation, but within our own tribes. Why is that? Well, because among our tribes, we had inheritances that were passed down. And so if within my tribe, my son or my daughter marries one of my kinsmen, one of my cousins that is also from our tribe, then our inheritances remain in our tribe and we continue to grow. And Yahuah lifts us up above every nation so that we are economically above every nation. He said, that's what I want to do with you. So he says, I want you to be on top. I want you to be the head and not the tail, on top and not the bottom. I want you to lend and not borrow. These are exactly the words that he says. So when we do something different, we are causing the process of building an economy to drag out and take longer than it should take, right? Because we're not doing it the way he said do it. Now, if that's what you want to do, that's up to you. But he gave us rules and regulations as to, okay, well, if you take from another tribe, or if you take from another nation, more importantly, do it this way. So he does provide room and space for if you marry outside of your tribe and if you marry outside of your nation, this is how it should be done according to the law, right? However, there were definitely, and Moab and Ammon are some of them, certain nations that Yah absolutely forbid us to intermarry with and to commingle with. And the thing is, at this point, because we still having a hard time identifying, okay, well, who is Ammon today? Who is Moab today? I know everybody say they know. I don't say I know. I know everybody say they know. But if you're wrong, you may be condemning your progeny, because Yah say I'm cutting off. If you marry into these people, you get cut off. Do not, because what they did with their bloodline is abominable. The safe thing I tell my children, the safe thing to do would be to marry among your people. And I'm not mad at other people and other nationalities who do that. I understand why they stick together. We don't marry within our people, but then be the main ones wondering why we can't stick together about nothing. Why we don't feel family oriented about nothing. How can we turn against each other so easily every time somebody gets talking about, you see somebody doing another brew wrong out in the streets and you don't automatically step and be like, hey, what you doing? You can't do that to that person. Like the brother who told them, no, y'all gonna boycott this Chinese nail salon, or this Chinese nail salon ain't gonna be here because what they did to these sisters ain't right. And I'm not standing for it. We don't do that often as a people because we don't really understand that we are related, that we are kinsmen, right? But if we were marrying and building an economy the way Yah wanted us to, we would feel that toward each other. We would be like, nah, that's my brother. You know what I'm saying? When I see somebody, listen, I get upset. I used to get upset a lot because I used to work with a lot of Arabs. And I would get upset when I see the Arabs in there flirting with the brews, with the little girls and stuff, because they don't allow that with their women. You can't come at them women at all. They leave their sisters and their wives at home, and then they come over here and want to treat your kinsmen like whores. And you want to be like, hey, what you doing, bro? That's my sister. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel. That's how I feel. But in the day we living in, you go down and be like, hey, don't be talking to her. She turn around and cuss you out. What you talking about? Leave me alone. I'm grown. I can fend for myself. I'm an independent. I don't want to cause no strife with you, and I don't want to bring no strife home to my marriage. So let it not be said that it was anything more than what it was, which I feel some type of way about what he doing. Really ain't even about you, little sis, but you know, whatever. No community, no continuity among our community. We don't even know we're a community. And to add insult to injury, even though we are going through this awakening period, and I don't want to use the term wake because I know people are really dragging the term woke right now. But as we're going through this awakening period, my people suffer from lack of knowledge, right? We're going through this awakening period, but we still just want to wake up to we buy black, support black businesses, support black this, support black that. All black ain't your kin. Just because they black don't mean that's your tribe or your nation. And until we really understand that, we still really not bringing continuity of our economy. It's not happening. All kinfolk ain't kinfolk. Okay, 100%. 100%. Yeah. It's hard, fam, I know, but you know, we got to wrap our minds around this in order for us to get to where he wants us to be. And the best thing that I know to do personally is to start each of us individually in our homes. If we could, you know, again, we just did atonement, right? So atonement again is about self-reflection. And I know we all want to, in our zeal, go out and teach people stuff and tell people stuff. But if we all just started at home, that'd be a hell of a start. If we get home secured, that'd be an excellent start to this, you know, to this thing we're trying to accomplish. Yeah. Anybody else want to come to the mic? So I'm not just up here rambling and babbling. Come on up to the mic, fam. You got it. Welcome, welcome.
Hey, man. Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Long blessings, blessings.
Shalom, y'all. Shalom, fam.
Hey.
How y'all doing over there?
It's all good. We was just eating, enjoying the conversation. I know we got in late and everything, but we here. But to that situation on that jealousy, we were just talking about, how polygyny is really ramping up, and not just amongst the Hebrew thing, but when you see how, it was lawful, and you see how it impacted the people, it impacted the relationship. Now, I believe, with Abraham handling it, how he handled it, because he got the promise, before it was written. It was, because he followed Yah's law, statutes, and commandments and whatnot. So he was gonna have him hearken to her voice, simply, because the first wife, she retains all the rights, right? And so, but it is interesting how that skirmish between them, just one marriage. Just one marriage, how it tore up stuff. Even with what you was bringing out about Moab and them. Now, they went to some other nations and everything, but remember, they had a fight before they separated, Abraham and Lot, and I believe them grudges were still there.
It's very possible.
That those grudges were still there. They was fighting amongst each other about who's gonna have what land, and who's gonna do what, and it wasn't like it was a small group of people. So some of them grudges was still, I believe, it was still evident. But that jealousy thing, and Elaine was about to say something about that.
No, he brought it out.
Oh, okay, you brought it out. Okay, but that jealousy thing. So for us to really pay attention. And I know we got we got a lot of sisters that are out there without husbands, and some are, the pain point is, I don't want to be by myself. And those who are solid on the fact of, and they'll use that community thing. I saw one, I just got we get these videos, different people share different things, but one of the leaders of one of the mainstream Hebrew groups, he left the organization because they wouldn't talk about polygyny. And then the things that he went into about how men should deal with their wives, got to stand up. And I don't know if anybody followed this one gentleman. I'll leave that out. But he's a young man. He's single, and he's talking about how men should be functioning in their relationship. First of all, okay, he hadn't governed a family yet.
Right.
But he was really going in on what men need to do as far as standing up, and this just the civil war that's going on in our community is unreal. But this man said in his relationship with his wife that though he is willing to take on another wife, he says that he don't love his wife, and she knows this. She said, "I like her." And
this is a brother that knows he's Israelite.
Yeah. He was a part of a major. He was a part of a major organization, and you said it very well earlier, about the fact of you can know all the scripts you want. You can know this guy. He's been, and like I said, he was one of the higher ups of one of the alphabet groups. An assembly, and he literally says this on the phone, over on the video. But it's just interesting that in our relationships we're considering all of these things, and we haven't gotten it. The reason why I bring that up is that we haven't gotten it straight with the one wife that we have.
Right. Wow.
And so we hadn't done well with that. And then, he's been interviewed by a single man. He ain't even got out the gate yet. And he's still, he tearing up stuff. Yeah. He ain't even at the start line.
He's already tearing up stuff.
So, but that jealousy thing, man, and these people were real. This was real life. This is not something, and this is when the scriptures, become your heritage, and when it becomes your your history and understanding, so that you don't go some of the ways that our people went. So you called us out, so I just had to.
Told out for that. No, I did. No, I wanted to welcome y'all, but also, I know Rib and I, from talking to you guys, as we've talked before, what you guys' background is. And for those that don't know, Eric and Elaine, they do, they have a ministry that is about dealing with the marriage, the husband and wife. And that's what they've done for years. And so when I saw them in there and we were reading about Abraham and Sarah and Hagar, that was an interesting dynamic, and I'm sure that they may have had some interesting insight on that from a couple's perspective. Kane, told out for joining us, fam, and I appreciate the insight. Yeah, it's interesting stuff, man. The things that's going on, in the nation. Like I say, it is very aggravating because we seeing how people get mistreated. And again, if we can't start at home with this is not going to be rectified, because the allure of wanting to use my air quotes, lord over or master over people is thing that's pulling people to these platforms. And vanity causing people not to rebuke people, even if it's a nice rebuke, when they see the people are lifting them up, is not helping people with their understanding. Several of y'all, as we talked yesterday, we're talking about your individual experiences. Like, even though we get together and we fellowship, here and there, y'all are talking about y'all experiences and how, you see y'all moving in the people that you're talking to, and by your own study, you're able to show what you're saying and what you profess to believe. Hallelujah! That's exactly what's supposed to be happening. We are not supposed to be telling people, or let me bring you to my more, so he can explain it to you. Let me bring you to, my teacher, my elder, so he can explain to you. We should be able to boldly profess. There's the scripture in 2 Peter, I want to say 2:16, say, be ready with an answer when someone asks you the reason for your expectation in Messiah. That's the foundation of apologetics in Christianity. We're supposed to have the same thing among us. If they train their children to what's the word when they say they're going out?
Prove their expectations. Apologetics.
Yeah, it's apologetics, but there's another word for that. 1 Peter 3:15. Thank you. I was way off. To go out and win souls. I forget what the terminology is that they use. Yeah, but that's not the one that I'm looking for. We should be doing the same thing. It's a spin off of the Great Commission. When I think of it, I post it. But yeah, family, that's what we had to share this week. I pray y'all are ready and excited for Sukkot, for Boots. We are. We're going to prepare ourselves tomorrow, get a little bit more in. And I got to do a few more days of work before I can take off. But for those who are going to be in Texas, we'll see y'all there. And for those who are going to be coming wherever you're at, we'll see y'all in the Yahuah. And I'm praying for safety.
I say yes, I'm too blessed to be stressed. Nevertheless, I must confess, Yes, this is Project Wake Up Jacob. On the Sabbath we rest and reflect upon his goodness. Because we are guided by the Ruach Kodesh. Yes, whenever I get dressed, yes, I'm dripping Kodesh fresh. Yes, this style fit me down to a T. Because I'm a ruffian, discussing precepts from the holy manual of his constructions. And TZ's cover 4 corners of my garment. Greet me with shalom before you step into my carpet. Yah is not the author of confusion. I beg your pardon, but Yahuah Zabaoth can stop it before it's even thought about.
Too blessed
Think
to
of
be stressed because I've been blessed by the best. I'm Kodesh fresh.